Hello, I'm Dale Matthews. I'm joined this evening by Mike Jones, and this evening we're going to talk about politics, local politics. Go figure.
I thought you were going to show us some very old, dated pictures of your family.
No, it's not my family, it's yours. No. What this is, these are people who were on the Titanic in 1912
Yes.
that didn't
They may
make
still
it.
be on the Titanic.
Oh, well, some part of them probably is, yeah.
Yes.
They did make it, and it's a conclusion I personally come to. We didn't really think the county commissioners were going to change around. We know they have an imperial attitude. I mean, these were the rich people of their time. It was a luxury liner, maiden voyage. Really, when I look at them now, we really need to move on. Okay. When I look at these guys now, it just looks like an old grainy photograph to me of people who used to exist. Really, we just can't wait for them. It's all ashes with these fellas. They're not going to change. And you'll see from our very first clip what the heck it is that I'm talking about. It's amazing. But as a matter of fact, Mike, why don't you just go straight into that clip? That'll please somebody.
Oh, okay.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Cheryl Walker. Paraphrasing.
No, that's not at the beginning.
Dale Matthews grants pass.
It's big.
Last week, I said to the board, I was quoting Cheryl Walker, paraphrasing. You don't want someone showing up at your door when they're all pedophiles. That's what I said about her opinion of county fire or any fire group that's in the area that's under your direction. And Cheryl Walker said, she tried to quote me, saying, Cheryl Walker said that all firefighters are pedophiles.
What?
That's not what I said. Nobody would say that. Again,
oh, you're wrong.
I said, you don't want someone showing up at your door where they're all pedophiles. Paraphrasing Cheryl Walker. Her quote of me just a couple of minutes later, Dale Matthews just told you, Cheryl Walker said that all firefighters are pedophiles. Well, that's about enough out of you guys. You had a chance to say, oh, no, wait a minute. I used to be with the Gospel Rescue Mission. That's not quite right there, Cheryl. Or you could say, gee, I'm an up-and-coming young politician that wants to work somewhere else. And that's just not quite right to say that about a citizen. That's completely wrong, Cheryl Walker. But nobody said anything, did they? Okay, so, all officially redundant. It doesn't matter what you say. Not if you're going to say those kinds of things. All in the same meeting. There was no mistake. So what I'm going to do for the next 50 weeks is concentrate not on you, because you're irrelevant. I'm going to concentrate on what we can do to try to improve this county. You wanted this all along, you're going to get it. See, Wally Hicks said that it might take 9 months, 3 months, 6 months to redo version number 4 of this ordinance. It doesn't matter how long it's going to take. Because in 6 months from now, almost exactly, is going to be the primary. And whatever that ends up being, whether you two decide to run, I sure hope you do, no matter what happens, as soon as the new people get in, it's going to take them about 30 seconds, one vote, to cross out all of this work on this ordinance.
They didn't look happy when I said
Sincere
that.
apologies to the people in whose business you are interfering, and a return of their money with a little bit of interest. It's just going to take 2 votes, and it doesn't matter what the third vote is, Simon Hare. It doesn't matter. You can speak as much as you want to, not you two, because you won't be here. But the people who object to this can kick up a fuss all they want. It's going to be motion, pass, done. So all we're going to do from now on is just watch what you're doing, encourage people to move the furniture out of the way, and then propose solutions. You're done.
Mike?
Yeah, you're done.
Yeah.
You're done.
We
boy, they were
put up
sure.
with this.
having some audio issues during that.
Yeah. It almost as if they were
Clicking up and down.
pressing the mic on and off or some other goofy thing.
something weird. Yeah.
Yeah, but let's talk just a little bit about the content of that. I realize it's me, but still,
Yes.
you and I are, and I think most people would agree, at the pointy end of the stick. Right? We are keeping track of what they're doing. We've been asked to keep track of what they're doing and to point it out. And we do point it out. And it doesn't mean we got to keep poking the bear, but when we see something's wrong, we mention it, and they hate that. The thing they hate most is comparing this with this because they always lose. So the question that I mentioned to the city council this evening when I basically repeated this, as I said, if you don't quite know, I mean, you're in the city, if you don't quite know what's happening with the fire ordinances, just look at who's lying to you. I said this, she tried to repeat what I said and couldn't get it right. Now, if you're not like me, and some of you are not, okay, then you might not stand up and say, hey, wait a minute, that's completely wrong. That's not what I said, but Cheryl feels she can get away with that. I didn't say all firefighters are pedophiles.
Yeah, but as soon as that whole thing happened, it reminded me of the situation with the library,
Yeah.
where her first reaction to Judy Aarons was, "Oh, listen, people, I assure you, there is no porn at the library." The number two reaction was to get her and her friends to come in and mock everybody who was calling it out as an issue.
Yeah.
And so this, thing where she is purposefully misquoting you to say that all firefighters are pedophiles is her way of, and listen, it's not an accident there. I don't think it's an accident where she's saying that. It's purposefully done. It's she wants to cast you in a certain light that she knows isn't true. So she says, it that way. That's
well, how do you guys that are in the audience, you're our viewers, it's a very popular show, it's getting more popular, how do you feel about that kind of government where you could stand up and say something, and Cheryl Walker especially, and Keith Heck sometimes, and occasionally Simon Hare will just completely make up something to try to make you look like a fool when you're bringing up a legitimate concern?
It discourages participation, I think.
Who would want to stand up in that kind of atmosphere? Vivian Kirkpatrick Pilger asked the commissioners, what kind of atmosphere is this? Oh, we're encouraging people to come forward. Why they all ought to feel comfortable here. Do you feel comfortable with that kind of paraphrasing, that kind of repeating of your statement? That's awful.
I think in the particular case where she was saying that, she wanted people to feel comfortable to come in, what she was referring to was her friends and people that want to come in and say wonderful things about the commissioners. She wants them to feel comfortable, and was somehow, I mean, they don't hardly do this anymore, but they used to say it all the time, that people feel intimidated coming in here because of you rabble rouser people.
Yeah, because of us. What? Okay, all right. So this has been happening at the city council meetings. Every 2 weeks, the Grants Pass City Council has a meeting, and they have this policy. They made up the policy. It's not our policy, it's theirs. And they say, and Darren Fowler, the current mayor, except for re-election, says every time, don't expect that because we can't answer any questions that you have. Well, that's kind of convenient because of their policy. And so you can ask something, you can ask whatever you want, but we can't respond at all. We're prohibited by our rules from responding. Well, now for the last 4 meetings, which means 8 weeks, every time I get up to say anything, Darren Fowler has some little snide comment to make. And each time he does that from my seat, I shouldn't do this, it's breaking the rules, I say, I thought you couldn't comment. They do it every time. Every time. That's nice. So I got up and I told the story. about, well, I've warned everyone, I've warned everyone not to personally attack people. Now, when I repeat this story about what Cheryl Walker did, is that me personally attacking her? Well, let me just ask that. Is that me personally attacking her? You could say yes if it's true.
Well, so and send your email to Bad County.
So we can deal with the thousands of emails that we've been getting on these subjects. That's right, yes. Mike. You might want to put that over this smoked glass look down at the bottom and make it a little bit bigger so people can read it. I think it looks. I like the color.
I can't put it over the smoked glass because that lower third is something that's happening in Google Hangouts and not in my production software. So I can't lay anything over the top of it.
It's against your personal policy? I thought you were making this
right. Policy. Yeah, that's exactly what I meant. And that's what I was saying, yes.
Okay, but my point is that here's this guy saying we can't do that, and he does it all the time. It's the royal elite. It's these guys. They're all dressed up. Okay, there were some people that didn't make a whole lot of money that were on there. Of course, they were the first to die because they wouldn't even let them up on the deck. But almost all of these people drowned. Froze to death first. Nice. Okay. So what I'm trying to say about these characters that are at the weekly business session is, of course we care. And you've asked us to watch them. We're going to watch them and we're going to point out what they're doing. But I'd like to try to help you. My personal opinion is I'd like to try to help you because some of you may say, we got to get up another recall kind of thing. Or you might say, well, we got to get you some kind of thing to erase this ordinance. It's lovely. It's perfect that you're politically involved, of course, if it's something that appeals to you or it makes sense to you. And there's a bunch of you where it is. But, save your money. Put it into something like getting rid of this mayor of Grants Pass. Put it into something like picking a couple of fiscal conservatives. They don't need to be social conservatives. I've got my own opinion about that. But a couple of fiscal conservatives in their area that's going to redo some of these policies or at least reconsider them. Save it for that because these guys are going to go. How lovely it would be if they ran. Oh, yeah, but it doesn't matter. Save your money because there's only so much time and energy and money out there. And as soon as you get two, you're going to need two. Have I ever said that before? You need two of them. And as soon as they're in there, I wasn't kidding what I said to the commissioners. This is going to be over in 30 seconds. Because they've set it up that way. I guess they figured that no one else would ever take over the reins. All it takes is you say, I have a motion to make. I want to rescind this ordinance. Anybody have anything to say? Simon Harris says, we can't rescind it because you can't rescind it. It's impossible to rescind it. Thank you very much. You have any? Well, I still say you can't rescind it. Okay. Anything else? Don't do it. Don't do it. Okay. Vote. Boom, boom. It's over.
Yeah, that's providing you have two people that are in agreement about that, and that's not, and that is not entirely clear.
No.
We don't know that we're going to have two people that listen. You may have one person who agrees with that, and one person that's worse than either Cheryl or Keith put together.
Well, we already know who that would be: Mark Gatlin, and what's that other guy's name? Roy Lindsay. It looks like at this moment they both want to run. That'd be worse than what we have now. This is a political talk show. We can say that if we want to. I just said it. That'd be awful. Awful. See, the only good thing about Simon Hare being in here is he's not Mark Gatlin. And we've enumerated for you several times, and alphabetized too, about what it was, the things that Mark Gatlin is saying, and also the things that Roy Lindsay has been saying. Oh, that wasn't on the tape. It wasn't on the tape. No, it wasn't there. Brother. And Mark Allen said that too. They're both that same stripe. We need to say goodbye to those. Now, the worst thing that you'll get is what we had before. Oh, this doesn't sound right, from Sandy. I don't mean that was the worst. What I'm trying to say is she was a conduit of information that should be public, and she made it public. Well, we can have that. That's a good thing. Sandy, I'm not saying you were the worst thing. I'm saying that was a good thing. Okay. The worst scenario is still a good one. Well, at least we'll know more of what's happening. And that leads straight into our next story. Mike, do you feel like doing the introduction to the second big thing, if you count my thing as big, okay, the real big thing that happened at today's weekly business session? Because there were just two things anyway.
Well, maybe if you'll enlighten me as to what it is.
Yes, sir. It's this thing about this.
Because I didn't put this tape together. It was you.
Yes, that's true. This one was about the idea that there is some kind of performance grant, a grant that would help us. I'm trying to pull it up for myself now.
Oh yeah.
A thing that go ahead. You know what I'm talking about now, right?
Well,
sorry, bud.
Yeah. Essentially,
it just went away.
This is I wish I had the and as a matter of fact, if I had the email, because I do have an email that is in reference to this. Hang on just a second here.
Well, okay, I've got the original document, which I'm scrolling down to now, and you can see this, and it's posted. Sometimes these things are hard to find, but parts of it are posted on the county's. I think all these should be posted. Sorry that we both lost track of it at the moment, but we're going to get there. You're getting every dime you spent to watch this show is worth it.
It's the Emergency Management Performance Grant.
You're right, EMPG. Okay, and here is a description of that, which I'm going to read to you without glasses. The fiscal year 2015 Emergency Management Performance Grant Program focuses on the development and sustainment of core capabilities as outlined in the National Preparedness Strategy, which, of course, is not included. Particular emphasis.
That stuff's all very cryptic.
Yeah, I have no idea what these guys are saying. Okay, well, do you think that you're meant to know what's being said? If you're meant to know, we've got people, we've talked about this before, but I don't know what to say because I am not informed. There's a reason you're not informed, not because you're an idiot. We're not saying that, because they're not informing you.
I believe it comes under the heading of purposefully vague.
Yeah, which they said. Particular emphasis is placed on building and sustaining capabilities that address high consequence events that pose the greatest risk to the security and resilience of the United States.
Yeah, and you know what? That's not an earthquake. That's not a flood. That is something different than that, and that's where the water starts getting murky and the tinfoil, for a
you
good
start reason,
wrapping it around your head here.
Right. Now, they're supposed to attach something to this, which they didn't do, to explain what some of these things are. But they're not going to do that to you, to us. No way. I mean, we're looking for it, and it's not there. Okay, here's one of the things that comes up, and you're going to see a little clip from Sandy Casanelli, who excels at the money side of these things. And it says right in here, you can look at the budget for yourself. This is very important. I'm going to slow down just a little bit. Sorry, it's going so slow. It says there is a 50% cash match required on this grant. And I think you know what that means. They put up 50%, the federal government does. We have to put up 50%. Not you, but the county government. It's going to have to come out of county government. And the grant funds say $93,715, which we told you here. Say $93,715. Okay? It's a 50-50 grant. They put up 94, and we put up 94,000. Now, here's Sandy Casanelli asking a couple of questions about this. We're going to get back to this thing with Cheryl in a moment. But a couple of questions about this. She asks a couple of good questions and one that's sort of extra. And listen to the way that Sandy puts it and see if you agree that it's not very clear to you either. Now, I know that you have, we know you haven't looked at the document. That's okay that you haven't, but we have. And we can't make heads or tails out of this. And this was on the consent agenda, which means it's done. Listen to what Sandy has to say. Please.
Sandy Castanelli, Merlin, Oregon. My comments today regard item 3B, the Emergency Management Performance Grant. Since the county will have to put up the matching funds of over $93,000, the public requests answers to the following. The national deadline for filing submissions for this grant was June 12th, 2015, this year. Why is Josephine County allowed to apply for it over 4 months after the national deadline? The federal money of $93,715 will be issued with the requirement that we develop and sustain the core capacities as outlined in the National Preparedness Strategy. What is this strategy and where can the public view it?
Nowhere.
It says the strategy has particular emphasis on building and sustaining capabilities that address high consequence events that pose the greatest risk to the security and resilience of the United States. Could it be that by accepting this money, we will make Josephine County simply a local arm of the federal government? Is it smart to put the county in a position where it has to follow all the federal dictates associated with this not-so-free money? The document further states that the EMPG work plan, quote, identifies the specific tasks to be performed towards the development and sustainment of core capabilities in the sub-recipient's jurisdiction, unquote. What is the anticipated work plan for Josephine County? And a last question, why was the email from Lori Johansson regarding contamination by the Fielder Dam removal included with the documentation? How are heavy metal and arsenic levels from the removal of Fielder Dam part of the local work plan? And I submitted these questions, and a lot of people are interested in the answers. Thank you. Any comments or questions? Seeing none.
Now, they never have any comments or questions. They always wait to their protected time.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't say anything to her afterwards. You know, I mean, this is an interesting thing because we're talking about $200,000 is being spent somewhere in this county to do so. That's pretty substantial amount of money when you're talking about the county's budget, which just consists of a very small amount of money. This is almost probably, you know, somewhere between 5 and 10% of what they spend as a county total every year, you know? So, so we're just supposed to go, oh yeah, sure, that's a good idea, without even knowing what it is.
Well, here's the question to our viewers. Let's suppose that this whole thing is completely on the up and up. It's just, we did this last time and the time before. Okay, then why not just tell us about it? Just right. Even if you put out a 100-page document, well, why not? It's all just pixels anyway, because it's just on the computer. It's not like you're printing 100 pages and passing them out to 1,000 people, 100,000 pages. You know, no, just post it. Or why are you not posting it?
Listen, and even if you suspect that you know, it's to fund chemtrailing the area or something like that, you know, write us an email and let us know what you think about that, and you know, we'll talk about it on the show. That'll be interesting.
It doesn't mean that we have to always be, well, we do need to be vigilant. You think we don't need to be vigilant? I'm not saying that they're always out to get us. You know, I know some people feel that way. I'm not saying that. That's Mike. But the point is, Why would they not want to tell us? Just tell us.
Yeah, I don't understand. Listen, there's I think we deserve to know what we're spending $100,000 of our money on.
Yeah, and well, just like the thing about who wrote the third version, sounds like tiny little detail. Who wrote the second revision, the third version of the fire standards? Well, we don't need to tell you that because it's really not going to be helpful. Hey, just tell us. There was nothing to it. It was Wally Hicks. Why are you not telling us? Do they real? I don't know if they realize or not. Do you realize that when you've got no credibility now, they have none, zero, nothing. They're passengers on the Titanic who have been dead for 100 years. This happened in 1912. Okay, so it doesn't matter which of these people was loud and belligerent and which cried and which did this and which was the best singer. It doesn't matter. They're all gone. Just tell us. Why would you not? And if you want to be above suspicion, would you please be above suspicion? Well, you want this information, and that's ridiculous. Well, post it anyway.
Well, and as we've mentioned before on the program, this is not the first time.
No.
It's an annual thing. They spend this money every year.
Right.
So
on
I mean,
what?
Aren't you a little bit curious?
Yeah.
To know. I mean, even if you're not concerned, aren't you curious at what we're spending $93,000?
Politicians. Yeah. What?
Yes, and what ultimately $200,000 is being spent on in the county. Now, listen, Cheryl has mentioned before how right-wing terrorists are the biggest concern of upcoming now above Islamic terrorism or whatever.
That's
and
right.
This particular administration has expressed a lot of concern about the right wing element. In other words, I think they have some paranoia because now it's quite often spoken about in conjunction with mentioning the Second Amendment, that the reason why the Second Amendment exists is to throw off tyranny. And so it wouldn't surprise me that they're dabbling in that area, but we're spending $200,000 every year on this thing in this county. Wouldn't you just want to know what it is? And like I said, we're speculating. I'm speculating. I'm coming off the top of my head.
Why do we need to speculate? Just tell us. When you have forget about the no credibility. If people want to know why, and you're asking them why, the commissioners why, tell them why. You could say, hey, you want to know why? We're going to give you 300 pages. Fine. We're going to put 1,000 pages out there. Fine.
Way above our pay grade, apparently.
What they're basically saying is, this is none of your dang business. Hey, wait a minute. Yes, it is.
I think that's what I just said, but yeah.
What?
Right.
So just tell us.
Yeah.
Okay. So Sandy's asking these questions. Now you already know the kind of things that they're going to say. One, oh, this is nothing. These stupid, minority of citizens who come in here every week and they have these questions. And then Keith's going to say something like, well, it's making a mountain out of a molehill. No, we're not making a mountain out of the molehill. You are. But the little moles will sneak around. Well, it's completely justified. Why do we even need to ask then? Just tell us. And they're still not going to tell us even after they were asked a question about it. I didn't even ask the question. Sandy did. But there are people out there who would like to know. And some of them are tinfoil hat people. Okay, God bless them. Others are completely not. Others just want to know, how are you spending our money? We're not going to tell you how we're spending our money. It's going to cost you a lot of money to keep track of what we're doing, Mr. Matthews. Why? Just tell us. That's all. So it's completely benign. Yes, it is. You can take my word for it. Okay. Trust but verify. Just tell us. We're not going to do that. Why the heck not? Am I being a radical about this? I don't understand what the problem is. No, I'm not. I don't think they're all pedophiles. Maybe a couple of them. But listen, the point is, these guys. Don't hide it at a time when you'd have no credibility. This is the wrong time to be hiding anything. Just let the information out and have the people choke on it if that's your attitude about it.
Well, no, here, let's understand something. A few people have some questions about this. Most people
Don't know.
Most people don't even know this took place at all. And so they can get away with not mentioning what it's for. They can do all that. Listen, I would like to have a couple of commissioners at least in there that thought it was important to explain it. Or
even if they're not going to explain it. Yes, go ahead.
That had the curiosity to even know themselves, because I would be willing to bet that they can't even tell you what it's about.
I don't think so. Don't think. And so the way you handle that's super simple. Okay. First, you don't have this elite leadership attitude about the people because they're supposed to be the boss. Good luck with that. Okay. But the most important thing is you just release the documents. That's all. It's not like they should be top secret. We're spending all this money. Just tell us how it's being spent. And then that whole thing is diffused. Why
diffused?
Why confuse us when you can defuse us? I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yes.
Okay. So here's their somewhat blathery response. You'll see some of this makes a lot of sense. Well, why do we need to ask it? Just tell us. Go ahead. Let's listen to they're going to speak for a little while. Go ahead. Please.
Dale,
Chair, I move that we approve.
Here, let me just pause this for a second. And you were the one who spaced these clips here. So if you're waiting for it, it's not because I didn't press play. It's because there's too much time in between.
I'm making a joke. Go ahead.
Okay,
yes, I got
there we go.
Approve items 3A and 3B on the consent calendar. A consisting of minutes and B consisting of the Emergency Management Performance Grant CFDA 97.042, grant number 15-517.
I'd rather have the discussion about, I'll second that, but it's important that we review item B. I think there was a question about it and making the distinction that this is receiving the monies, that the application was filed on time, that this is just fairly procedural in accepting the award.
Yeah, this isn't the first year we've received it. We've received it before. It is a continuation of a grant that we get for our emergency management program. The other thing about the money that comes in from this program is trying to make it sound like it's a horrendous burden to us. The county has to come up with $3,327 as a match. And for that, we are able to access all federal information, federal programs. We have a person who can manage that for us.
Yeah, that's
what?
Yeah, that kind of wait a minute. No.
What does the documentation say, Mike? You've seen it.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what she's referring to. I think that it said something like between 94,000 something or other, which was our part, 97,000, which is what they were going to give to us, and the difference between those is $3,000. But you still got to come up with the $93,000.
It also says in the documentation, this is a 50-50 grant. Now, okay, because we can read English and numbers, and it says 93,715 from the feds, 93,715 from us. It's a 50 grant. Now, what is she talking about $3,000? Where did that number come from?
I don't know. I hope that she is not that confused about what's actually going on here, although that is possible.
Now we just showed you how she made something up before.
Yeah, but I have to wonder. She says this, goes into their emergency management thing there. Anytime the federal government is giving you money for anything, there are strings attached. You must toe their agenda. It's not for you. It's for them. I'm
sorry, that's another issue, which you're quite right. In my opinion, you're quite right. What I'm asking is, how did it go from something that we can read clearly, the parts that are there, and it says exactly this?
Yeah.
And it's crystal clear. How does it go from we're spending almost $94,000
So we're spending 3,000.
Well, how does that happen?
Yes.
Well,
Right.
trust us, we're your politicians. I don't think so.
That one you'll have to write to Cheryl about, and
good
you'll
luck.
just I probably could put that email on the page, but you could go to the commissioner's site and email her and say, "What are you talking about?" Because
or you can email it to us, and we'll forward it to them, and that way you'll have anonymity.
Oh, you're right. Yes, anonymity.
Right. And unanimity. Right.
Yes.
That's right. Okay, so let's hear more of their explanation.
Okay.
I'd rather
I
have
guarantee you for $3,000, the very people that are complaining about it would be the ones that would be calling wanting assistance if there's a flood or an earthquake or any other kind of natural disaster or a situation where we need to have emergency assistance. And if we don't have these plans in place that these work on, we would be pretty much out of luck. So very, very good investment.
Yeah, and how do they relate to national security?
4 months delay appears to be.
I did. It was applied for on time. This is receiving the money.
Just want to clarify.
Once again, Keith's at home in the bathtub.
This isn't my liaisonship, so it's not my responsibility to explain this, but I think that it can be easily misconstrued that 4 months later, that's the federal timeline for when these awards happen. So it's very consistent that it doesn't happen the day after we apply for these. It probably trickles through the state. It takes a little bit of time. This does obligate us, I'm sure, in some respects to federal guidelines, like every federal dollar that we ever receive requires, from public works to public health to emergency management. But it's the alternative between us using more general fund dollars that are extremely limited, and frankly, we have a high cost benefit analysis that says we'd rather contribute those dollars to deputies on the roads and sheriffs, officers in our jail and our juvenile shelter, rather than spending dollars on something where there's federal money that you guys paid, we all did, to the federal government, and we're getting our fair share back, probably not as much as we could if we could contribute more general funds. I do understand that I think there's maybe I'm misunderstanding this grant, but in other grants, there's more money that is necessary from the county to do a match. I could be thinking of
more money.
More than 50%,
isn't? Yeah, I've never heard of that.
It says in the document. You need to go look for the document yourselves, guys, because why would you believe us? Well, because we don't lie to you. But I mean, it says this is a 50-50 grant. This is a 50% matching grant. More money? And what's this? Well, we don't want to take it out of our general. It just has more questions. Every time we go to one of these meetings, there's more questions than we walked in. It doesn't mean we think everything is crazy. Well, not everything. Okay. But when he says we don't want to take it out of the general fund, then what does he say about 30 seconds later? We're going to take this out of the general fund. What do you mean you're not going to, but you are going to?
Yeah, I mean, my concern is would the $93,000 have been spent towards this end in the first place, if this grant wasn't available? Listen, not every grant is worth pursuing. There's like right now, Montana, I think it is. It's either Montana or Wyoming or something. They just determined that they're wasting so much food and they're losing money in the Michelle Obama school lunch program subsidy that. And the federal government was paying them $177,000 a year, but they were losing money because people were leaving campus and eating off campus and throwing away a great deal of the food that they were being served. That they decided they were better off without the $177,000 of federal money. So you should be questioning every single one of these grants. We're required to match it, but would we be doing this thing anyway?
We brought you the local version of this. And we weren't even looking for it. I just happened to go to this meeting and they were talking. Oh, really? I had no idea they were going to say that. And so it's a waste of because the kids don't want it. Really? So we're throwing away over half the food. We weren't looking for that. I don't have an agenda on that. Why would I have an agenda on that? I didn't. But I'm listening. I go, well, oh, and really?
And how much money is our local school lunch program? And this is a question we could ask them. How much money is our local school lunch program losing based on statistics before these new guidelines came in? How much less of these, because people are bringing their own lunch to school, or they're eating off campus, or some other means? What is the money worth it? And I'm not sure that people within our local government are doing the math on these kind of things. They really need to, but I'm not sure that they do. You really have to. And, it's interesting, Simon mentions the strings that are attached to this. And he says, well, this is money that we pay. We're getting our fair share back from the government. When I'm getting my fair share of my money back, I don't think of it in terms of, hey, I'll give you $5 back if you shine all, all the federal vehicles that are operating in that area. That's not getting, I get paid to do that, but I'm only getting part of that back. I'm still having to do your bidding. You need to question all of this stuff. And I really wish we had people in listen, it may well be this one particular thing, although it sounds kind of goofy, it may well be perfectly logical.
It may well be. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. But there should be some analysis.
Questioning government. We've already heard what the clerk said about those of us who question our local government. What did he say, Mike?
I think he said we're morons or something like that. Whatever. I think if you don't question government, you're a moron.
I agree with you. Now, it doesn't mean that you need to march off and holding signs and everybody's cheating. I don't think that's true. I don't want to believe that's true. But is it okay to ask a question? Well, let's find out and see how they answer us. They've already said the amount of money, it says in the agreement, the only documents they gave us, that amount of money, they didn't say it's wrong. They're just saying some other number. Well, no, wait a minute. How can you be saying another number? No explanation. Go ahead.
Different grant, but it's usually 50 cents on the dollar. And it could be a different grant. I don't have.
That's just this grant.
It is this grant.
When you calculate the amount of money, the amount of money we have to put in, the difference between.
Now,
yes.
What did she just say a moment ago? I mean, this is what we're catching. And why are we the only ones catching this? She just said we would put in 3,000. This is a heck of a deal for 3,000. But she now also says that it's 50-50. Yes. Now, are we getting 3,000 out of this year?
I don't know what she was thinking. I'd like her to explain just exactly what were you thinking when you said that, because now you're saying it's 50 cents. So all told, it's $6,000 that we're getting. Is that what you're saying?
Well, so here's the point again. I'm going to summarize that again. Okay. She said, you're doing a heck of a job, Brownie. She says $3,000. And that's a really good deal. Did she not? Okay. Yes, she did.
Yes.
So I'm answering my own questions. It's my show. Okay. Only me. Okay. Now she's saying, yes, this is one of those examples of where it's 50-50. How the heck can it be 50-50? You just told us it wasn't.
Yes.
Would you get your story straight?
Listen, perhaps she's was in the bathtub this morning too.
With Keith? I hope not.
No, not with Keith.
Look,
not suggesting anything.
Yeah. This is the reason why Art Harvey, the county clerk, calls us morons. Because when you listen to her, she's contradicting herself.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't need our help. So which is it? Probably none of the above. Go ahead, keep playing.
Between the 97 and the 93.
97.
I don't have my
97 and 93. That's
95.
No,
where'd that number come from?
Can't.
But you're correct.
I don't know.
Many of the matches are in emergency management are closer to 50%, but this particular one is not.
And we are having to use more general fund dollars for emergency services.
Yeah, well,
You just said it was.
we already know she's crazy. Can we just finish this part of the
No, she just said it was this. She said this one's 50-50. And now, 30 seconds later, she's saying
we pretty well established.
Which is
I think we've pretty well established that, she
She'll
doesn't
say
have a whole lot of credibility.
anything. She just said it. Yes, this one is 50-50. And now she's saying, no, this one is not 50-50. What? Keep playing. Sorry.
Yeah.
2008 monies have been expired. We've used them. We've been very diligent in keeping those kind of in reserve because they have the most discretion. Prior to 2008, they were basically given to the county without many strings attached. Since then, Title III dollars are heavily restricted and not able to be used as match funds for emergency management or search and rescue.
Okay, that was that segment. That was kind of interesting in my opinion. Now you just heard Cheryl say like 4 different things in one long blathery answer.
Now, whether she's doing that because she just doesn't know, whether she has an intent to deceive, whether she is, has confusion about the whole thing.
She obviously does not want an answer. Did you feel like you have an answer now? Or more questions?
Well, we have an answer by definition, but yes.
Lots and lots of answers. She didn't want to talk about this. It was Simon who said, no, I think we should talk about this before we take the vote. That's interesting. She didn't want to. Okay, so we're going to wave a fond farewell to the people on the Titanic as they sink into the east, wherever, into the bottom. I guess that's ultimately south then, isn't it? And so, sorry, bud.
Yeah, I guess so.
So now Cheryl's going to be kind and gentle in the way that the commissioners usually are with questioners from the audience. And you listen to see if she's being rude or not rude. That's the question now. Rude? Not rude. Go ahead.
And Commissioner Walker.
Yes. Judy Aarons touched on several topics and she's left, as has Ms. Casarelli. Anyway, she talked about the mining withdrawal and the mining claims, saying that it'll destroy the mining claims. The existing mining claims are not affected. And I think that's a misconception that's out there among a lot of people. So if there's several $1 million of revenue that's coming in, that should not cease because the existing mining claims are not affected by the mining withdrawal. So to perpetuate otherwise is misrepresentation of the mining withdrawal.
However, if anybody wants to mine at some point in the future, besides the existing people, let's say one of them dies, done.
Yeah.
That's it for that.
This is the straw man that she often does, not always, often does. Well, you're saying this. That's not what Judy said. You don't know, but we know because I was there. Judy didn't say, and Judy could. It's possible. There's a couple of people who might, succumb to the apogee and perigee of hyperbole. But okay, that's not what Judy said. To the best of my memory, she said this is going to be devastating to the local mining community, and that's quite right, because we actually have people who come here from California, shut up about complaining about them. They come here because they can't do some of these kinds of mining down there with the little putt thing, or even with the, with the baby thrown out of the bathwater. They can't do those things. And so they come here. It's kind of a little vacation that they take, and they want to spend their time using a pan. My dad did that.
And they're They're trying to put the kibosh on all of that stuff.
Yes, they are. And so Judy is right in the idea that it can be devastating. But Cheryl's saying, oh, no, that's not possible. And it's like what she said about the library. Really, Cheryl, just back off.
Well, and listen, it should be understood that, people like the environmental lobby and the two senators that are backing the mineral withdrawal legislation, and Cheryl, I'm sure, shares their beliefs on this. They're believers in incrementalism as a tactic to ultimately get what you want. So once this is achieved, then the next step is to knock it off entirely.
Yes.
In other words, to stop the people that are currently have claims, because we cannot allow this ecological catastrophe to continue. We must have new legislation to stop it. It's the same thing they do with gun rights and every other thing.
Now, I said to you at the beginning of this clip, sorry, Mike, is because there's a delay. I said at the beginning, rude or not rude. She just said that Judy was passing out incorrect information. I say it's rude. That's my personal opinion. Next little clip, please.
Mr. Matthews made a comment about his, and I can expect that there'll be a lot of criticism, even though he says the next 50 weeks he'll concentrate on what he can do to help the county. I haven't seen in the last 150 days, 50 weeks, that he's done anything that way. But his comment quotes to some effect, perhaps paraphrasing in his words, that's about enough out of you, referring to this board.
It is.
No, that's a direct quote.
Disrespect, and he's nodding his head over here, thinking that disrespect to the governing body of this county is okay.
She sounded a little like Rika right there.
Absolutely, the most childish thing you can do.
Really?
And if you were to go testify at the legislature or a Congress or any other public body, you would be asked to leave the facility. And I think that
off with their heads.
That kind of disrespect,
with their
I hope
heads.
the public will recognize what these people do. They deal in disrespect. They deal in that kind of character assassination all of the time.
Really?
And I think that people have had enough of it, and I hope that they will look beyond that.
Okay,
so I repeated what she said, which was incorrect and terribly incorrect. And I'm the one that's rude. I believe that any of those bodies that she was talking about, if an elected official said that kind of stuff and repeating someone's quote, that the elected official should be held in contempt of that organization.
Yeah, wouldn't happen though.
I believe they should.
Listen, and if you want an example of that
Here we go.
in action, tomorrow morning, watch the hearings there, because they're going to have Hillary Clinton in at the Benghazi investigation there, and they're going to ask her questions, and she's going to be really, really rude to them, and no one's going to sanction her at all.
No, they're not. Okay, so that's what she had to say about me. Now, this is in chronological order, so it would be better if I could combine that, but I'm not going to cut this up into 1,000 different things, because you're going to say, that's highly edited. No, it's not. Here's what
highly edited anyway.
Here's what Cheryl has to say about Sandy Casanelli. Go ahead.
Ms. Casanelli said something about what happened. She's not here to get her answer. That's typical.
That's
Come in
typical.
and drop
Typical.
arrows and leave.
Drop your arrows and leave.
I'm sorry, I talked over that. She drops her arrows and leaves. Cheryl, that's a little bit rude there, bud.
She doesn't pick up after herself. She's so messy.
Oh, no, what is she really
Dropping
saying,
her
Mike?
arrows.
What is she saying? Sandy Casanelli has questions. I would like to have answers for my questions. She didn't say, you idiots, where's my answer? She said, I would like to have answers. But Cheryl defines this as slinging outrageous fortune, slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. No, it's not.
Listen, all she has to do, and all of this stuff is happening on the record. Okay.
Yeah.
So Sandy knows that she can come in, ask a question, and if they have anything to say about it, she can pick it up on the recording if she's not there. It's still a legitimate question. You don't have to be there to get an answer.
I would prefer not
question.
to stay there. I would be totally in favor of everybody that has a question for the commissioners. These aren't questions for the commissioners anymore. We know they're not going to give us answers. They're now statements. They're not questions for the commissioners. It's not called questions for commissioners. It's called comments or questions or something like that. I still operate the camera. Who wouldn't want to leave that atmosphere? Come on now. They wait till their protected time at the end where nobody can say anything. Why, that means he's a liar. Hey, can I speak? No, you can't. Hey, okay. So here's just a reiteration of the top of the show, which I think you might enjoy. It's either once or twice. It'll be fun. You'll see.
Last week, I said to the board, I was quoting Cheryl Walker, paraphrasing, you don't want someone showing up at your door when they're all pedophiles. That's what I
Deja
said
vu here
about her opinion of county fire or any fire group that's in the area that's under your direction. And Cheryl Walker said, she tried to quote me, saying, Cheryl Walker said that all firefighters are pedophiles.
Thinking that disrespect to the governing body of this county is okay is childish. I think that is absolutely the most childish thing you can do. And if you were to go testify at the legislature or at Congress or any other public body, you would be asked to leave the facility.
Yeah.
So, does that sound like a warning shot? If you question this,
it's not any different. I mean, she said this same kind of thing about 50 times that I can recall. Yeah.
Well, what? How else is she going to explain all this? Yeah, I completely made it up. My point to the other two were, you're sitting right there. One of you's from the Gospel Rescue Mission, for God's sake. Okay, and the other one, it purports to have some kind of political future in the state. He would prefer to work elsewhere. That's pretty obvious. We're not going to see him tomorrow either. This guy is gone half the time now. And so, but they sat right there. And she's saying this. And they could say easily, either one of them could say, now, Cheryl. Heck, I do it with Mike every once in a while. Now, Mike, well, he's going to say what he wants to say, but they could easily do that. They're not going to do that. Cheryl just lied to everybody, and they're apparently okay with it. I'm not okay with it. So I've had about enough out of these guys. So what I'm going to do at the weekly business sessions is, for the next 50 weeks, is I'm going to just talk about solutions. That's all. And I'm going to bring up every once in a while when we caught them doing something else. But really, the primary is only 6 months away. Then they're not going to pass through the primary. Those two aren't going to pass through it. And then the election's a year away. It's the perfect time to spend the time to explain what it is that we can do to solve these problems without concentrating on the blah, blah, blah. They said this, they said that. It doesn't matter what they say anymore. It just doesn't. Once it gets to the point where she can say that kind of thing and nobody has any objections except for you, then, okay, they're irrelevant. They're just like these guys. It doesn't matter who was the best singer or who was the hardest to get along with. They're all dead now. So have a pleasant evening, everybody.